welcome our beloved audience back to the video series podcast called Grand Hour Vietnam, the best of Vietnam. Today we would like to introduce you a very special guest. He's a GM, General Manager of InterContinental Saigon. Welcome, Mr. Justin Malcolm.
Thanks so much, Jason. It's a true pleasure to be with you today.
It's good to have you today. So first of all, my first question, what type of watches that you're wearing today to the interview?
I'm wearing a Mont Blanc, actually, a nice classic. It's been my favourite watch for over 10 years. I have a few different watches in my collection. And apart from Mont Blanc, I really enjoy the Baume & Mercier brand.
All right.
Nice and classic.
Very smart choice, Swiss brand,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks, Jason.
Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna talk a little bit about your personal story. So, with 28 years of experience in hotels and restaurant industry, what make you feel that's the best about doing your job?
I think there's a few things that are important about being a general manager these days. I think first and foremost, you really need an international perspective. So being a traveller yourself is important. Seeing the world is a fantastic element of the job, but working with fantastic people, I have to say, is the favourite part of my job. I get to spend time with fantastic people in different cultures all around the world, and I really value that part of my job. In addition to travelling, some of the perks of the job are getting to taste, being familiar with different food, varieties, beverages, broad knowledge of different cuisines. I really enjoy that too, since I'm a amateur cook myself.
Because people say that food, the fastest way to get to know the different culture, right?
I think so too. I think most people say the international language is actually English, but I have to disagree. I think international language these days is food, because it doesn't matter wherever you are in the world, whatever city you're in, food always brings people together, even if you don't speak the language.
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. So can you tell me about the most challenging mission that you have ever undertaken?
I've had quite a few, to be honest. In this industry, you see the best of life, you see the worst of people's times in their lives sometimes,
yeah.
And everything in between. We're also an industry that's affected by many things, whether that's a global pandemic, whether that's political situations, whether that's slowdown in travel in the airline industry, whether that's domestic or international government issues, as we've seen in many regions in Asia in the last couple of years. So the industry definitely provides its fair share of ups and downs. But I think the most challenging thing for me is not only meeting the pressures of budgetary returns now for ownership groups. Outside of that would be, I built and renovated a resort in the Maldives. So sitting in the Indian Ocean, over an 18-month, 2-year period, we had to renovate an entire resort. And bringing supplies in all the time into an island nation has a lot of challenges. Timelines are most often missed, and we had to build in this particular instant, we had to build a channel up a reef. So once we started digging out the reef, we realised that the reef was too hard. We couldn't break the rock under the water.
Right.
So we ended up having to build another 150-metre channel in the middle of the ocean after getting environmental approval, making sure that we didn't affect any marine life. Some of those things are the challenging areas. Yeah. In addition to that, tsunami warnings in the middle of the ocean are scary for a lot of people.
Right.
But we spent a lot of time preparing for that, and I certainly had our fair share of warnings while I was in Maldives.
Cool. Tsunami, right?
Tsunami. Yeah.
Have you ever experienced any tsunami in your life?
No, just the warning, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't have to respond to that, yeah.
Because like 15 years ago, like back in Thailand, there's a big tsunami that destroyed, the whole resort in Thailand.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was the same one that came through Maldives and bleached all the coral.
That's right.
So that was devastating, actually. Many of our resorts at the time were also damaged significantly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in any kinds of job, we have achievement, right? So what is your gold medal in your job?
That's a great question. I think for me, recognition and the legacy you leave behind as a general manager is quite important. So outside of the hotels that I've worked in, including this one, I've always tried to give back a little bit to communities and to the industry. Three standouts jump at me for recognition. One was being awarded the 2012 Pacific Asia Travel Association Face of the Future. At the time, I was running a resort in northern Thailand, and we had put together a small chapter of the Pacific Asia Travel Association to drive tourism into that part of the country. It was still under a lot of development at the time, and we managed to get weekly meetings with the governor of the province, and as a result, really put Chiang Rai on a tourism map. So I was really proud of that, and to be recognised for that at the association level was really rewarding. In addition to that, I think I was awarded by Starwood back in 2010 as the most inspiring leader when we were branding the resort in the Maldives. Challenging, as I mentioned, when you're isolated. So there'd be a couple that jump out of me. And the third that I mentioned was being awarded a hospitality superstar by the Asia Pacific Tourism and Travel Federation, which was just a few years ago. So I was really, really proud to represent tourism and travel industry to receive such an honour. Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
impressive.
Thank you.
All right. So the coming question is more about your professional industry, right? So in tourism industry, customer trend and demand, like it's changing every day. So what is your method to keep the InterContinental Saigon 5-star standard?
I think there's a difference in how we do business now, particularly post-COVID. I think we're in a very digitalised world these days, and that's never been more important than the post-COVID environment, Jason. I think even though our revenues are not back to 2019 levels, we are spending more money in marketing than we ever have before. And I think our marketing focus has to be critically central to everything we do, not only through digital channels, but even the messages we talk about, our compelling stories we form, and how are we resonating with our customer these days, because their needs are typically very, very different. So I think from a trend perspective, we want to stay ahead of that marketing curve. We want to make sure we're investing in the right areas, in the right countries, and making sure our messages connect to the people that are buying us from those countries all the time. That's one area that we're particularly focused on. Another area we're particularly focused on here is making sure locally in the domestic market that we remain competitive all the time. So not only from our compelling stories, as I touched on, we want to make sure that the product is revitalised. We want to make sure that we're still compelling to stay with. But most importantly, our people and our service matter every single second of every single day. We cannot take our eyes off how we deliver service excellence through our people, through our product, and through our culture. And that's the other thing that we're focused on here, rebuilding after the pandemic, getting right, and making sure we resonate every single day.
So, as we are in the industry for a very long time, InterContinental was one of the best nominated hotels in my mind. But, for over the years, like they building up a lot of, 5-star hotel in Saigon. So what is your competitive differentiate from your competitor?
Well, we're on that journey. I remember when we took over the hotel, we spent a lot of time with the marketing department. And all of that time was purely focused on differentiation. How do we make sure, because we run a large complex here, we have a hotel tower, we have a residential tower, we have the largest conference centre of any 5-star hotel in the city, and we have multiple restaurants with multiple cuisines, as most hotels do. But how do we make sure that we are, as I referred to, compelling? How do we make sure we attract curiosity from the local market, particularly post-pandemic? The Vietnamese market has never been more important for us, and making sure that we connect with those audiences was our single mission when I took over just over a year ago. Outside of that, our product is a really big focus of ours. We want to make sure as we go through refresh, as we go through rethinking our spaces, that we're already thinking 5 or 10 years ahead. We don't want to be thinking, how are we competitive now?
Yeah.
That's really not of interest to us. We want to make sure that any area that we refresh in this hotel, which we've done, the conference centre is a perfect example. $3.8 million spend in refreshing the space that we're sitting in today. Oh. But when we went through the design of that, we thought 5 years ahead. And we're going to do that in all of our food and beverage venues. We're going through that design journey and conceptual development phase now. And that's what we're really focused on. To remain competitive is not only with our culture, not only with our people. It is definitely about product, place, timing, and relevance.
So we can see that vision is very important.
Vision is extremely important. Strategy underpinning that vision is even more important. And we've got to stay the course. Yeah. Now, we're going to experience road bumps along the way, but we cannot deviate. We have to be very determined in walking forward the whole time.
And it puts you in the role, that very important role that you are the one who keep the execution, going in the right way.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, let's face it. Everybody's going to experience ups and downs in the economic condition of the country, trading conditions. What we have to do is just make sure that our execution of those vision and strategies is timely. Right. They can change. We have to be flexible in this day.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, how long have you take over the place? I mean, as a general manager?
I took over InterContinental in August last year. So a year and 3 months.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Vietnamese staff? You're working with a whole new team. Yeah. So your opinion about the Vietnamese staff?
It's a great question. I've spent 19 years in Asia, traveling around different countries, 4 countries and about 7 different cities. So I've had the opportunity to work with many different cultures. What I really love the most about the Vietnamese culture is that it's an extremely determined workforce. The workforce is not shy of hard work, not shy of a challenge. I learnt that particularly even after taking over this property, even though I had been in Ho Chi Minh City for 6 years prior. Everybody rallies, everybody has a passion for what they do, and everybody, in my opinion, wants to deliver excellence. I really enjoy that about the Vietnamese culture.
Yeah. So every 5-star hotel, in Vietnam, particularly in Ho Chi Minh City, they have some key, key hook. That's one that attract people to come to your hotel.
Yes.
So what is your key hook in InterContinental Saigon?
Well, we like to say that InterContinental is the place where people do business. We are a very strong corporate business and MICE, meetings, incentives, exhibitions, conventions. We're a very strong MICE hotel. We have the largest conference centre, as I mentioned. So it's very important for us to focus on those areas very strongly. But what we see post-COVID now is that we can't rely on that. Yeah. We have to make sure that our diversification of our segmentation is also a focus of ours. Leisure business. Yeah. Business-leisure mix. People are taking leisure stays now at the end of business travel. So this whole leisure segmentation now is a focus for us. We want to make sure that we're resonating with the leisure market, local travel companies, and connecting with international leisure travellers. Maybe not a strong focus for this hotel in the past, but it's certainly a much stronger focus for us now, to give you an example of how we're pivoting.
Yeah. So any achievement of InterContinental Saigon that you would like to share today in the podcast?
I could talk all day about that, Jason.
Yeah,
it's a good question. Thanks for asking. I think most recently we've been very proud to win 2 awards from the World Travel Awards. Oh. One is the Vietnam's leading conference hotel, and one is the leading top hotel branded residential products. As I mentioned, we have the residences as well, and they're equally important to us in how we drive our business here. Outside of that, we're still focused on the awards that everybody recognises globally. So even our TripAdvisor recognition is important. We just were recognised again in top 10, and our positioning, particularly as I mentioned with business travel and in the luxury segment, remains very important. And we also won the award for Best Luxury Business Hotel.
All right. So next question is like InterContinental orientation in this period and the coming time. What is it?
We are still in a transition period, actually. We're still not back to 2019 levels, as I mentioned. We'd like that to be accelerated. However, there's still some headwinds that we need to address and that are perhaps outside of our control right now. So the orientation for the property now is to focus on rebuilding the business, making sure that segmentation, split, diversification makes sense, particularly for the post-COVID environment. As I mentioned, we're in a very heavy digital stage now, commercially, so we have to focus on that. Outside of that, even though we're not back to 2019, we're using this period to recreate the future vision for the property. What is our food and beverage venues going to represent? What concepts do we need to look at now that are going to be relevant in 5 years? What should our rooms products evolve to? With branded residence entries into market in this city, it's only going to increase. How do we make sure our residences stay relevant? Because we're at the top end of the market as a luxury tier residential product. How do we hold that position? These are things that we're very, very focused on in terms of orientation right now. That naturally transitions into where we're going to sit in 5 years' time. We want to be one of the top luxury hotels in this city, and we will not compromise on that.
Awesome. Like you just mentioned about the branded resident, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big competition.
Big globally. I mean, it's taking off. It's been a trend now for a few years. A lot more companies are paying attention to this space, but more importantly, travellers now, particularly in the post-COVID environment, feel much safer in a branded environment because they're guaranteed safety and security. Right. They're guaranteed when things perhaps don't go right, domestically, internationally, as we saw through the pandemic, that they're going to be looked after and looked after well. So this segment's very important.
Yeah. Believe me or not, InterContinental Saigon, you guys have the best spot in Saigon.
I have to agree. Our address, our location is definitely a plus. A lot of other hotels can say they have a prime location too. So we don't focus on that 100%. It is a factor. But as I mentioned before, our compelling stories, and there's three things that I always talk about when we talk about compelling stories, and that is how are we different, how are we better, and how are we special? These three words must be answered by our marketing teams, must be answered by our commercial teams in order to understand where we win. Our address is just part of that.
Cool. So can I ask, what is the percentage of the occupancy of the resident here in InterContinental Saigon?
Our residential product does very well. We usually trade over 90% most of the time.
Awesome.
So that is fantastic news. So it's not a segment we want to disrupt. It's not a part of our business we want to disrupt. But it's something that we want to keep building on.
And for the tenant, so the longest stay of your tenant here in InterContinental Saigon, how long?
The property's been open for 14 years. We have tenants that have been with us for 14 years.
Cool.
So that is a mark of loyalty, right? I think that there's no better success than
that's very important
somebody
to me.
That stays with you for that long.
If they stay that long, they love you, right?
Absolutely. Well, I hope so. I hope they continue to love us in the future.
Cool. All right, so now time for sharing about a little bit your personal experience here in Vietnam. So, a local Vietnamese brand that you fancy about? Anything?
More a brand I admire. I think because I link it back to the determination of the culture here. And if you look at 2017, when Vingroup launched VinFast, they were the first local car company particularly, to appear in an international motor show. In 2018, just a year later, they were in Paris Motor Show. That company and the brand has expanded already as a multinational company. They've set up factories in Australia.
That's right.
And so you look at the growth and the pace of a brand like that and the power behind it. Even with the design team of designing the first cars, they had a lot of strong automotive industry stalwarts
Yeah.
that helped design VinFast.
Mm-hmm.
And even from design now to how they resonate with the local community and internationally, not only in the traditional automotive sector, but even in the electric car sector now,
Yeah.
electric motorcycle sector. These are things of the future. So I really admire the vision of VinFast.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, what I admire is even how they've addressed public transport now in Ho Chi Minh City with the electric taxi fleet.
And bus too.
And bus fleet, and what's going to happen now, particularly because Vietnam is a polluted nation, unfortunately, but you can see that even their vision now is linking into the needs of the country. So I really, really admire that.
Okay. So VinFast and Vingroup, that's a role model of the industry, right?
Yeah, I think so. They're multi-segment, right?
Yeah,
they have many different facets of their organisation. So outside of the brand VinFast,
it's a lot.
You got to admire what they're doing.
Right, correct. So what type of holidays is your favorite?
I have grown to love doing nothing. When I was younger, I really loved being on the go, seeing different cities. I was out every single day. Now I just love a beach holiday in a peaceful location because this job is busy. Right. And now when I'm not busy and I take a break, I really love doing nothing. Sitting by the beach, reading a book, listening to music, sipping on some great wines, and more. And like we talked about, experiencing the country's culture through the cuisine.
That's correct.
That's my favorite pastime.
All right. You tell me about like your beach holiday. So what kinds of cocktail that you're gonna drink?
I'm a little bit eclectic. I have a broad spectrum of cocktails.
Yeah.
I like to try new ones. There's not really one I particularly
The
stick
one that
to.
you drink while you are on the beach,
I'm a little bit boring. I like wine to start with, or particularly if I'm eating. But I like a fresh, tropical style, sour cocktail. So anything in that spectrum I would resonate.
All right. Sounds good to me. So what's recurring activity that you usually plan twice a year or 6 months apart?
I think the beauty about that question is I don't plan things regularly or the same. I like to really experience new things. I think there's so much to see in this world. There's so much, and even though I've travelled, I still haven't touched on 80% of the globe. I want to see more. So I'm not a guy that wants to do repetitive things, to be honest. I'm always planning something new, looking at something different, experiencing something that I haven't done before with the family, and making sure that I can maybe bring some perspectives of those travel environments to work, since we're in a global environment.
That's right.
Yeah.
So your family stay here with you in Vietnam?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You have kids?
Yeah. Yes, I do too.
Cool. So what is the next place that you want to take your whole family for the holiday?
Probably New Zealand. Yeah.
I've never been there, but I bet it's the best place, right? It's one of the best places in the world.
Oh, it's a great place. I've been there once, and the reason I want to go back is I've only seen 2 cities. There's so much more to see, but I love the outdoor nature of New Zealand. And I love the outdoor activities, and to get the children to be outdoors and experience different things, quad bike riding, rolling down a hill in a big blowing up ball. These things are exciting, so we're going to do that. And I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. Yeah.
All right, so you live in Ho Chi Minh City, so can you share a little bit about your living space to the audience?
My living space, I like to categorize my living space with 3 words. Cozy, comfortable, and colorful. I think they're 3 things that I've learnt from my hotel life that I really bring into all of the places I live. I like to make sure that whenever, because we entertain a lot as general managers as well, and a lot of that's in our private spaces. So I always want to make sure that when people are invited into the home, or even coming home after a long week or a long day, you must feel comfortable. You want to be positive walking into your space every day. So I focus a lot on comfort. Cozy is really about being able to be in that space longer. So even though it might be comfortable, they're 2 different things. Cozy is about being able to spend longer periods of time there. So the furniture choices are equally important. Comfort, coziness, being able to curl up and spend longer there. And then accenting with colours. I really like accenting my living spaces with colour.
Yeah.
So in my space here I have a lot of accents with red, as an example, and some different colours around the sofa cushioning, and bringing to life some spaces that are ordinarily plain. That's my simple approach to my living space.
It makes your space like more vibrant, right? Yeah, with colorful.
I like a little bit of energy.
Yeah.
In the space.
I agree.
So does my partner. So we're very focused on energy through colour.
All right.
Yeah.
So we, like in the beginning of the interview, we talking about drinking, right? So Negroni or old fashioned?
Negroni.
Negroni.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So
and what would you have?
I'm gonna old fashioned.
Okay, right.
Yeah, a little bit different, right? But I switch sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, Negroni is a good choice always. So if you have another life, so what kinds of life that you like to eat?
You know, I knew this question was going to be asked, and I was thinking to myself, do I really want another life?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's elements of everybody's life, mine included, that I would like to redo.
Mm-hmm.
But do I want another one? I'm not sure I do. I think I've been blessed in so many ways. I've had the opportunity to hold a role like this, even though getting to this role is hard work. But I've had an opportunity to work with fabulous people. This industry and my role now allows me to meet so many people that I cherish. Some of my lifelong friends now have been guests in my hotels. Do I want to change that? I'm not sure I do. But are there elements that I would redo in my life? There are. I think the only thing I wish I had a little bit more time for was I would love to be able to contribute to communities more than I have time for now. So if I had to describe an area of my life that I'd like to do differently, I would like to, I've always had a dream to have an orphanage to take care of people that are less fortunate than myself. Children are our future. So if there's an element I would like to redo or experience differently would be that. I'd like to really make sure that the children that don't have what they need now in life, our future leaders of tomorrow, our future in general, I would love to take care of them and do something in that area.
In Vietnam, we're a third world country, so there's a lot of poor people that can't afford their life. So there's many foundations that giving hand to the poor people.
Yes.
So I suggest that you can find some of that foundation, so you can continue to to do your dream. Yeah.
We definitely partner with a lot of charities through this hotel, and even the charity partners, or even the organisations we do business with, some of the associations, we choose to do business with them because they support charities like Blue Dragon and things like this that take kids off the street and make sure they've got a future. Koto is another organisation that our business partners do business with, and we strongly support orphanages and schools through InterContinental Saigon, so it's certainly an area of focus for us.
Awesome. That's very meaningful to to the community.
Yeah, we have to give back. We're a global citizen,
and
we have to make a difference in the communities we serve.
So you look like a car guy, so what kinds of,
What makes me look like a car guy?
I don't know, like my feeling, by just looking at your outfit and your appearance, I think you're a car guy. So what kinds of car that you love to drive today?
I love Italian motor cars. I think Ferrari would be my favourite car brand. I've driven quite a few. I've been lucky enough to drive a few. And
which model?
I've driven the F50.
Yeah.
I've driven the California, to name a few.
Yeah.
But I grew up racing cars, and my father got me into racing very early. I think as soon as I could touch the accelerator with my foot.
Mean truck racing, or racing?
It's like carnicross, like an amateur rally style. And then hill climbs.
Cool.
So I got into that, and my father always had a Fiat race car, so that got me into loving Italian motor cars, and that love has never stopped. Even in Vietnam, every weekend now I try and go go-karting in the track out near Binh Nhung.
Okay.
So it's a 1.5 kilometer professional racing circuit. So now I'm into that every weekend. I get out and do that. So
all right.
Keep the adrenaline alive.
Yeah. That's very important, right? Yeah.
Totally. You got to stay young, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So, what is your lucky outfit for the important occasion?
Business or leisure?
Business, I mean.
Business. I always try every day, regardless of whether it's an important day or not, in terms of meetings. I always try and represent the hotel with the same image every single day. But if there was anything majorly important, I tend to wear darker suits and accent with colour.
All right.
I really do. I think my team would agree with that. Yeah.
You have your personal stylist in the hotel?
I don't. I probably should sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. You your own personal stylist, right?
Hospitality's never been shy of feedback.
Yeah.
So don't worry, my team tell me when something's not good.
All right. That's cool. So you like art?
I love art, actually. It's another thing we didn't mention with my private space, but we love accenting the apartment with art as well.
Art, yeah. So what type of art that you choose to perform, you to join the party, if you are to come to the stage?
Good question.
Yeah.
I would dance. Yeah.
All right.
You can't keep me off the stage, actually.
That's cool.
I don't need to be invited.
All right. Sounds good. So I think this is the last question for our interview. So thank you very much for joining our interview with the Grand Hour podcast.
Thanks, Jason, and really appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Justin. And stay tuned for the next episode. All right.